said, let's talk. Now, I want to just do a little recap of what we discussed the last time. All right? Just a little touch on what we discussed the last time before we take it up from there. Let's start from there.
Thank you very much, my brother. Last week, we looked at individual investors, individuals purchasing land, then registering it with government, their titles, and at the same time knowing when you have clone title and when you have perfect title, and what you are expected to know when you want to buy a property. The investigation that you're supposed to carry out when you intend to buy property in any state in Nigeria. That was exactly what we discussed last week, and I will believe that all our viewers were able to get justice to what we did last week.
Of course. I'm very, very sure that they did. But, I got a couple of questions over the weekend, personally, about land. A whole lot of persons are battling with one issue with their land or the other. In Lagos, in their village, and somewhere else.
Okay.
Now, let's get talking. There is this thing about government land acquisition. I want you to help us understand, give us, should I say a brief? No, I don't want you to give me any brief information or explanation. I want you to give us a full explanation when it comes to government land acquisition. Some persons might think that they have a land somewhere, but they don't know that it might belong to the government, or the government might be interested in that land. Please talk to us about this.
Thank you very much. Like I said last week, everything about land administration has been explained by the Land Use Act of 1978. Individuals, organizations can purchase land from people, from organizations. The same way we have the right and capacity to purchase land, so also government has right to purchase land. Prior to 1978, all the lands in Nigeria are owned, managed by individuals, families, community. From 1978, immediately after that decree was passed, what happens is that the decree gives power to government to acquire land. But what acquisition means literally is purchase of land. But that purchase of land is what is called forceful purchase. Normal purchase is when you buy land from Mr. A. There is a discussion and consideration is arrived at and is paid. But government decides what they want to do on any land. And when they decide what they want to do on any land, the law says the government has to purchase it from the rightful owners. And that language of purchasing it from rightful owners is called acquisition.
Okay, hold on. Acquisition. So it means that government has to purchase, because a whole lot of persons are listening to us right now.
Yes.
Government has to purchase the land.
Yes.
Not like the violence ticketed by force.
No. Government has to purchase that land from whoever is the rightful owner of that land. By that decree, which is now 1978 Act, Section 28 says that if government identifies land which they want to purchase for overriding public interest, that the first thing they would do to the owners of that land is to send what is called pre-acquisition notice. Pre-acquisition notice means that government has an intention to buy this land from you for public use. When they send that pre-acquisition notice to the owner of that land, the law says Upon the receipt of that pre-acquisition notice, the right of occupancy of that holder of that land becomes extinguished. That is what the law says. And to move from there, the law still says in section 29, the process stipulates the process of serving that pre-acquisition notice. You don't just do it anyhow. Then section 44 says, when you must have done the needful because government has to purchase, you now pay what is called compensation. Compensation is the cost of purchase of that land, literally. So when I buy land from you as an individual, I pay money for the purchase of that land, because Supreme Court decides purchase of land as payment plus possession. So government buying land from individuals, called acquisition, they have to do it, declare their intention, discuss with the families, and pay them compensation. Once compensation is paid, the government now becomes the owner of that land. But if section 28 was not fulfilled, pre-acquisition notice was not served, and the process of serving that pre-acquisition notice was not proper, or compensation was not paid, that acquisition is illegal, null and void by the court.
There is this thing you said I really want to understand.
Yes.
Acquisition.
Yes.
I have not seen where government comes to meet people in Nigeria now, comes to meet you in your house and say, I want a land. Sorry, how much will you sell this land? We want to buy this land. Government will just come and tell the baale of the area, well, so and so area, government wants to make use of the land, and people just adhere because this is government you're talking about. They feel you have no right to want to question the authority of government in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, people are having one thing at the back of their mind, and it's because of ignorance. That in that law it says that the state governor is the custodian of the land within the state. So individuals now believe that state governor is the owner of the land. But the makers of that law, what they have at the back of their mind is that government of a state will have to buy from the people any land that it wants to make use of for overriding public interest. You know, there is an adage that says, ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Okay.
You must have to know you are right. A lot of people in Nigeria do not know what they have as their right, as their property right. So anything you see, government can come into your land. You don't say anything. No. That is why we are raising the awareness for people to know that that land, that your ancestral community land, that you inherited from your forefathers, that nobody has the right to take it over from you by force.
Even government.
Yes. That government has to follow due process of law before taking that land from you. Land is a big business in Nigeria. Some governors are mischievous. Some governors want to settle their political cronies. Some governors want to augment the expenses that they must have made during electioneering campaign. When they come into power, they look for available lands and start grabbing lands without following due processes. If these processes and procedure that I have explained was not carried out to letter, most of our courts declare that acquisition null and void. I believe you understand what I'm saying. But what we have at the back of our mind as a Nigerian is that the governor has a right to take any land he wants to take. The law says no.
And people don't know this.
Yes, people don't know. That is why we are coming up to tell people about their property rights. To get people to know that you have right over that community land you have, that you receive from your forefathers, and you have right to that land. That nobody can come into that land and take it by force from you. Governments are the one that made the law. The statute is there. They need to follow the due process of law. If that due process of law is not followed, if you go to court, court will declare that acquisition null and void.
So it's not like a time where people just come around and say, well, because he's a senator or a member of the House of Representatives, he comes to say, okay, well, we want to make use of this land. For instance, we want to build a public library, and the property there before now has to be demolished, and after 2-3 years is abandoned. Is abandoned for like 2-3 years, and later on you discover that just someone is building his or her private residence there. What would you call that? So it means the era of that is gone.
Yes. People, you know one thing the Bible says.
But it still happens though.
Yes, the Bible says our people perish because of lack of knowledge. What you want to do, what you don't know, the information you don't have is bigger than you. A layman in a community sits down. Government bringing bulldozers to destroy his farmland, and he has never had anything from government. These are the consciousness we want to raise. For people to know that that land I got from my parents, that I inherited from my forefathers, that I have right to it. And if anybody wants to take over that land from me, the person must do the needful. But in Nigeria, things are being turned upside down. Do you imagine that lands are supposed to be acquired for a variety of public interest? Public interest. Then governors will acquire this land, pay compensation, and now begin to allot that land to private persons. Is it overriding public interest? You will see one Alhaji, one chief, one big man starts building at the back of your house. The government acquired. That is not the intention of the lawmakers that made the law. That's not the intention. But if people become aware that they have these rights and that their rights are being abused and violated, that is when they will stand up to fight for their rights. But if they don't have the knowledge that their rights are being abused and violated, there is no way they can confront the authority. We are speaking, we are talking, so that it will be on the subconscious mind of Nigerian citizens that we have rights to our land. Yes.
All right. Let's talk more. Right. In case you were listening, like I said, you can join the conversation. Okay. You can, maybe you want to ask a question. You can send a message via WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp number is open. Okay, and the WhatsApp number is 081 717 56338. 081 717 56338. Now, why is it that most communities are crying of illegal acquisition and non-payment of compensation? You know, I earlier said people come and just grab your land, you know. And before I even ask you this question, let me throw this on to you first. What if you come to my land and tell me you want to buy my land, government now, and I tell you no, I'm not selling? What happens?
That is why I said forceful purchase. If I want to buy your land, it's a normal purchase. If government wants to buy your land, it's forceful purchase, but there must be payment of compensation, and there is a provision.
Oh, there must be forceful purchase. Is that what you're saying?
The government purchase of land from communities, individuals, is what is called forceful purchase of land. That is acquisition. There is a provision of law that says even during the payment of compensation, there must be discussion. That if government says they want to pay you this, you have the right to discuss with government on what should be paid. And if there is no agreement, you have the right to go to court to demand for the adequate compensation of your land. There is an express provision in the law. But nobody, our people do not challenge government on what should be paid. And most of these government officials, what they do is come into a community, abandon the writing, make the Oba, the Baale, or the chiefs, antagonize them or bribe them with money. then the chiefs or the obas or the bales will now begin to form an alliance with the government against their community. They use the all these family head against their community. They will be giving the family head small money, and the family head will now do everything that they want them to do against the decisions of the family or the community. So what they are using is called divide and rule strategy. Most government officials, they are using divide and rule strategy to impoverish our people. That's
But some communities still cry that government don't compensate them.
Yeah.
A lot of people, families, communities, community heads, they cry that government just come and take over their lands and nothing happens.
You know, most of the communities, they have greater percentage of illiterate people. They have greater percentage of elderly people who do not understand English. Now, when government must have seen to have done the needful, later their children must have gone to school and found out that their fathers did not do the right thing, or that what their father did was as a result of duress. They stand up for their rights and begin to tell their fathers what they did was very wrong. And the information goes around the community. The community sees the illegality the government must have committed in that purported acquisition. They will start complaining. Most of the communities, the acquisitions were illegal, not proper. Some compensation was not even paid at all. That's the irony of the whole thing. Communities in Nigeria, they are bleeding. A lot of communities, they are bleeding. They are not happy. How can you wake up one day, the vast hectares of land that your great-grandfather left for you people, government will take over the land after 6 months? You don't see overriding public interest there. You don't see a university. You don't see a stadium. What you see there is one big man building private structures in that place. It makes somebody feel bad because that was not the original intention of the lawmakers. But because some of these executives play with money, and when they give the elders, the leaders of those communities, peanuts, they now do what they feel they can do, which is not proper before the law. That's why most of the communities, they are crying compensation was not paid. Even if compensation was paid, little was given to them, peanuts that they could not use. And another thing that these governors fail to understand is that their tenure is only 8 years. How could you feel as a governor if your community land is taken away by your fellow governor?
I have had a situation where government came to, take over a certain land.
Yes.
And the money was paid to the chief, the Igwe, of the community. And in turn, the Igwe gave the family the amount, please, is like you just gave them something. Now I want to ask you, when you're paying such money, do you pay to the community head, the Igwe or the Bale or whatever, or you pay to the family themselves? Like the family should get the money directly. Who takes the money?
When somebody wants to be fraudulent, he looks for somebody who plays ball with him. The first strategy they use is to entice that head or the Oba or the Bale. Distance him from the rest of the family. Tell him what he could get to himself and what they will make available to the family, and what he should be getting subsequently from further development, which they know they cannot fulfill. But they will give him promises that he cannot accept, which is called irresistible offer. When they come, they will meet the Oba, the Bale, the chiefs. They will give them, isolate them from the family, and give that the Oba irresistible offer, too juicy for him to say no. And when they must have started, their intention is not to implement that offer they have given him, they will abandon him along the line. And when the Oba felt abandoned, he now comes to the community to tell them the real truth that what happens. Then the community feels betrayed and now start fighting government. So they use domination strategy of isolating the family head, of isolating the Oba, on using demand, divide and control. That's what they are doing.
If government is to come around to acquire my land, what document should I ask for?
Now, the highest document an individual or investor
I'm talking about government acquisition now, right?
The highest document an individual, an investor has in a land is called certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
But for government, the highest document they have is gazettes. Government gazettes. When that land, when that acquisition is proper, at the end of the day, the government will gazette that acquisition in state government official gazette. Once that thing is gazetted, it becomes lawful. It becomes enforceable by law. But if that acquisition is not gazetted, it's not enforceable by law. I don't know whether you understand.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, for government to secure its property rights on that community, they need to gazette the acquisition. The law says upon the gazette of that acquisition, or upon the publication of that acquisition in the official government gazette, then the process becomes complete and the property right to the government becomes secured.
So it's not the C of O thing again now.
No, it's not C of O. Government gives people C of O, but government gets gazettes for its own.
I hope everyone is actually learning from this today, because some persons might just be hearing this for the very first time. Yes. So in case they're coming for your land, you should know what to ask for. The documents.
Do you know that some of these acquisitions, most of them are not gazetted? You hear instances where a particular place, a piece of land, could be under acquisition and under commitment, deemed to be properly acquired by government. After some years, the neighboring chunk of land becomes committed, while this one becomes free. So what happens? Why sudden lifting of that ban, of that lien? Because there is a connivance and there is a fraudulent intention of those who are supposed to protect our people. When a thief is given the mandate to secure the community or the state, it becomes a problem. So if things are supposed to be done in a way it's supposed to be done, ideally in a perfect situation, nobody will cry in Nigeria. Like I said in the previous episode, that Land Use Act of 1978 meant well for Nigeria, but the state governors are taking undue advantage of the illiteracy of the people to abuse the process and procedure of land acquisition. Most of the acquired land in states are not for overriding public interest. They are for private use, and that is not what the law says. I stand to be corrected. Yes.
What then should government do with acquired lands that have been left fallow for a very long time?
Sometimes government might need 100 acres of land for public use. Government will go and acquire 300 hectares. Then they will make use of 100 hectares they have acquired. 200 will be left unused. After a very long time, instead of that government knowing fully well that we utilize 100 hectares, remaining 200, for them to return the 200 acres back to that community, they will not do so. They start cutting it, selling it to private individuals. Ordinarily, taking law into consideration, what the government should do or is expected to do is when you have unutilized land, unused land, return it back to the original owners. That's what they're supposed to do. But that is not what they are doing in Nigeria, because land is a gold mine in Nigeria. In any state that you enter, land is a gold mine, and governor has that exclusive authority to come in to grab land as they want. I may mention before, there are omoniles and there are corporate omoniles. Some government officials, some governors using some agencies within the state turn into corporate omoniles, turn into land grabbers, grabbing land from the people without due process of law. But the narrative is to be changed if people are well informed.
Information is power. All right, you need that information. You always need the information. Then the WhatsApp number again is 081 rather 717 56338 081 717 56338. Just drop your questions, and of course I would want to read it out much more later. But then if you feel you want to contribute or you want to ask a question or something, I would also open the studio lines, and so we can have a two-way discussion. Okay, so you won't be left out. Now the number to call is 0700 903 903 903 0700 903 903 903. Okay, and we'll just get to talk there. Now let's push this discussion to I really want to take this discussion to another level. Now, how do you think government can handle the issue of unused acquired land? Okay, you spoke on that not quite long, right? But then I still want to anchor on that. I am not done. I'm not satisfied. Now you have a land, and government came around and they made use of the land. Sometimes they fence the land, sometimes they don't. They just leave it there. After 5, 10, 15 years, people start building there, and they built a number of houses, a number of properties on it because they didn't use it. People started using it. People started maybe selling it, or maybe having their own building there. And later on, government will now come and say, this is government land. What have they done to secure that land? How have they, people just came on to build. They didn't know it was for government. Now, if that happens, how do people handle such situations?
Chinua Achebe said in one of his novels, you don't blame the vulture for pitching over the carcass. Initially, this acquisition was the revocation of people's rights. And when government takes over this land, government's supposed to have what they want to do on that land. And that is when it comes to the issue of commitment. If government acquired a land, that land supposed to be committed for a particular project. And if it is committed for a particular project, there must be a time frame for that project. You will see some government acquire land that is fallow for 30 years.
Of course.
For 35
or
years.
Even more, yeah.
Like government will not do anything there. I used that idiom and said you should not blame the vulture for pitching over the carcass. You acquired this land, you did not pay family compensation. The acquisition was either legal or illegal as at the time you did it. And when you did it to the forefathers of those communities, they were illiterate. The people then come up. That's why in most places in the country you see, let me use family members or money in quotes, they will go into government acquired land and start selling. And they will take government to court. Omoniles and the government will be battling. Who is the rightful owner of the land? Because the true intention of that acquisition was not clear and it was not made known. If the true intentions are clear, the government should not have land to be fallow for 30 years. Because you must have been specific to what you want to do. And you must have had the fund for you to do that. If you then acquire that land, Supreme Court says that purchase of land is payment plus possession. Paying for a land does not make you purchase the land. After paying, you must be moved into possession. What do I mean by possession? You must go into the land. Either you fence it, either you start building, or you start cultivating economic trees, economic products in that particular land. If you don't take possession of land, you have not purchased any land.
Let me take you to Abuja, where in 2005, 6, thereabout, 5, 6, 7, am I right? Yeah. When Erufai, the former Kaduna State governor was the minister of the Federal Capital Territory.
Yes.
He demolished several houses. You know, what did he say? He said that the lands are for government, actually, and government wants to make use of the land. After some years, we discovered that nothing was done on some of those lands up until now. They were resold again by Yomonile in Abuja, the Gbagi people.
When El-Rufai came on board.
So is it that he stole, did I use the word stole now? Forceful acquisition, and nothing was done with the land or done on the land.
El-Rufai said that time that he wants to restore the Abuja master plan, if I can put it right.
Of course.
He wants to restore the Abuja master plan. And all the committed lands that belongs to government must stay committed. And there shouldn't be any encroachment into that land.
Mm-hmm.
He went further by demolishing every other houses that people built in supposedly committed government land. Then after doing that commitment on that land is projected. He did not do anything on that place again. There was no project in that place. And Nigerian government system is a government of non-continuity. One party will finish after 8 years, another party comes on board, he abandons the project of the former government and comes up with a different project. And when that one finishes in 8 years, the other one that is going to come, we abandon the project of that community, of that government. So Nigeria is a disunited government system, whereby things are not working the way they are supposed to work. PDP will come after the estate, APC will come with a different manifesto and program. That is exactly what is happening. And the government will still allow that land follow, because the new government that comes in abandon every other project that the other one is doing. If you go to Imo State and some other states in the southeast, you will see a 5-star hospital that was built by an administration. An incoming administration came in, abandoned that project completely till today. What is happening? Because nobody is asking them questions. Nobody is accountable to anybody. You just come in there, acquire money, use it with reckless abandonment, without anybody's asking you any question in Nigeria. Nigerian system is a pitiable system. Nigerian system is like what I said before, that we need to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. We are still sick in our mind. The purpose of governance is not what it's supposed to be. The way we are handling issues in Nigeria is not the way they're supposed to be. Nigeria is the most prayerful nation in the world. But when you translate our prayer and our spirituality, which we claim to be, you see that Nigeria is prayerful, but we are not spiritual. Because if we are prayerful and we are spiritual, we will do what God wants us to do, and we will follow our conscience. But somebody will be praying to you and at the same time taking your land. They are doing the way our colonizers did. They came in, brought religion to us and the Bible and the Quran. As they are giving us the Bible and the Quran, they are taking our mineral resources and our land. So the governors are there doing the same thing, the same system of divide and rule. as our colonizers. So that is what is happening everywhere in Nigeria, except when we get the leaders that are just, that wants to do the right thing, that have the fear of God in them, not fear of God by mouth, but fear of God in heart, knowing that these are my people, and that my people have the right to live. Until we get to that level, things will go bad. But I want Nigerians to challenge status quo, to come up. When they feel that things are not being done the way they're supposed to do, come up and challenge it. If you don't challenge it, you don't do anything. Even when God tells you something, there are things you will ask God. Please, God, how can I do it? How do I do it? I'm talking about God. So if there are things, if there are decisions, if there are laws that are not well articulated by you, you stand up and ask questions. And when it concerns property right, you must fight for your property right. Property rights. We have a slogan. It says, it is your property. Believe it, secure it, defend it. You must first of all, as an individual, as a citizen of Nigeria, believe that you have a property right to your property. The next step is for you to secure it. The final step is for you to defend it with the last blood you have earned.
Okay, now I want to open up the studio lines. I guess some persons want to participate right now or probably ask questions. Now, a couple of persons are asking questions though, but then let me use the opportunity to open up the studio lines, and so you can join in the discussion quickly in case you have a land in the village and let me not say it, but you need this information seriously. 0700 903